Siamese fighting fish. His name is Sir. His tank is a little bit dirty though, so we are going to clean it today, and I'm going to show you how. The first thing that you're going to want to do when you're cleaning your fish tank is, if you're in a dorm room like I am, put down a towel. It doesn't have to be the cleanest towel in the world. Mine has stains and stuff. The thing that you're going to need is a holding container for your fish and a fish net. For removing your fish, what you're going to want to do is remove the plant if you have one. And this is why we have the towel down, so that it doesn't drip everywhere. So what I'm first going to do is take the holding container that I had mentioned before. I'm using a jar, but you can use Tupperware or a baggie, whichever is best for you. And you're going to want to take some of the water out of the tank before removing the fish. Now, see, so it's still in here. So what you're next going to do is take your net, and in a quick motion, smooth motion, you must remove the fish. I should work at Petco or something. Now all that should be left in your bowl is the rocks and the water. Here he is. That's enough water for him to swim around, but with betta fish you have to make sure, since they jump, that it's not too close to the top. Give about 3 inches from the top of your container so that your fish doesn't jump out. I've had several fish in the past that, while I've been changing their tank, they have just leapt out. Obviously, a fish out of water doesn't last long. If that happens with you, just pick up your fish and put it back in the water. Try not to tear its fins or squeeze it or anything like that. Just pick it up, put it in. Can't guarantee that it will survive the ordeal, but the sooner that you respond, the more likely the chance that your fish will be okay. Next, what you're going to do is take the bowl to the nearest sink or bathroom. Okay, so I have my bowl, I have my sink, and I also have my plant. Now, right now in the bowl, obviously you can tell that the water is kind of murky and kind of gross. You're gonna have to get dirty. What you're gonna want to do is put your hand in the water and mix it up a little bit. Now there are things floating in the water, and this is when you carefully pump it out. Obviously you don't want any stones to get in, so what you're going to have to do is put your hand like this and let the water filter through your fingers. And if any stones did fall in, just pick it up and put it right back. So at this point, you'll notice, obviously there's no water in it, there's no floaty things in it, but it's not clean because we have this film up here. So what you're going to have to do is take warm water and fill up the bowl again and repeat the process where you shake it up, wipe the glass with your fingertips, and get that filmy stuff off of there. Honestly, it would be better to actually have the bowl in the sink, that way you won't splash everywhere. See, we have a clean bowl. There's no film on the top, there's no fecal matter in the bottom. Start filling up your bowl with tap water. The water is clean, the rocks are clean, and notice too that the bowl is not as full as it had been before. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that if you're working in a dormitory setting, or if you're at your house, it might be wise to wash up after yourself. That way, for one, your roommates don't get angry, and your hallmates don't get angry, and any of your companions don't get angry the fact that there's fish water on the sink. Some of you might have noticed that I said the words tap water. Let me explain myself. Petco sometimes sells, and other pet stores too, sometimes sell betta fish water, and this is good for bettas. But if you are like me and you're on campus and you don't have access to something like betta fish water, then you're kind of out of luck. If you distill water, if you use bottled water, that is actually harmful to your betta fish. And I'm not talking about like the prepaid stuff that you get at a pet store. I'm talking about stuff like Crystal Alpine or Deer Park. That's bad for your betta. Why? Because it does not have the necessary bacteria in the water that a betta fish needs to condition it. If you do not have water conditioner, like me, then what you're going to have to do is keep the water that the betta fish is currently in. And that little separate container is not only the betta fish, but also the bacteria that was in the water before, any kind of proto-life that the betta fish has produced or that has lived in the water prior to it, because that has conditioned the water in its own to be smooth. I suppose the best way to describe it is that the harmful effects of the water are taken away or made more mild because of the existence of the bacteria in the water. When there isn't any bacteria in the water, if I had just put my fish in the tap water without the existing water before, then that would chemically burn the fish. Right in here, yes, it's tap water. Yes, it has things that might be harmful to the fish, but that water there has stuff that's healthy for the fish. So that's why I'm going to combine the two. And since I'm introducing bacteria and proto-life into the water, then the whole tank will eventually become really safe for the fish. I have a plant in my water. The assumption is that the fish is going to eat the plant and that's its own little ecosystem, but that is not true. Betta fish are carnivores, piscivores rather. Betta fish, they're not supposed to eat plants. Sometimes you will see images of vases with betta fish at the bottom. That is not good. Unless the people are throwing food in there for the fish to eat, they won't eat plants. That's not part of their natural diet. So if you notice that your fish is nibbling at the plant, that means that you're not feeding them enough. Or it could mean that they're bored. It is healthy to have a plant in the water. The fish will enjoy it as part of its habitat. So after plopping your plant right back in there, the next step that you'd want to consider is putting your fish in. You might have noticed while I was filling up the water in the sink that I kept my hand in there and then I was feeling it. Now, obviously you don't want to chemically burn your fish, but you also don't want to burn your fish or freeze it by temperature. Fish are very sensitive to the water that they live in. So what I was doing was feeling it out to make sure that it was the same temperature of the water that was in the little container right now. So the temperature of the water in this bowl has to be the same as the temperature of the water in this bowl. It doesn't have to be to the nth degree, but at least has to feel similar to you. So if you wanted to test it right now, what you would do is put your finger in the water of this bowl, and then put your finger in the water of this bowl. Use two different fingers, and then see, is one of them colder? Is one of them warmer? If that is the case, what you're going to want to do is either add colder or warmer water to the bowl, or what you're going to have to do is just wait for the temperatures to assimilate. My bowl is already ready for the fish to be reintroduced into it. So what I'm going to do is pick up the container and gently pour the fish back into the bowl. See, now you'll notice that the water level is back up to its original height, and if you get closer, you'll notice that Sir is not clenching up, he's not sinking to the bottom, he's not freaking out. The sun is shining, the tank is clean. If your fish is displaying signs where it sucks up, or where it's like, and like tries to swim around, is glass surfing, where he goes up and down the sides of the glass, that could be signs that your water was not ready for your fish to be introduced into it. But what do I do now that I've introduced the fish into it? Does that mean that he's gonna die? No, your fish is not going to die, but the experience certainly did stress it out before. So your fish might suffer from some anxiety for the next couple days, or he might just sink to the bottom. Eventually, the fish will be okay, but don't do it again. Now, obviously, this only works for tank changes that are every couple weeks, but every couple months what you're going to want to do is do a deep tank clean, and I'm not going to do that right now, but I will tell you how to. Obviously, remove your fish, remove the water, remove the rocks. You would clean the bowl, just like I showed you before, but you would also have the additional step of using dish detergent. Any dish detergent is safe. I normally go with something like Dawn, and just wash it out as if it was your dinner bowl, or rinse it really thoroughly. Once you can fill it up with no suds being in it, I suggest that you fill it up. Obviously, don't fill it up all the way, fill it up partially. Put in your new rocks after you've rinsed them off so that all the industrial stuff isn't on them. They normally come in like pre-sized bags. Fill it up to your desired amount. And what I usually do when building the habitat is that I layer them so that they're higher on one side and lower on the other, because that just adds another dimension as well. The floor of the aquarium should be covered so you don't see any kind of bare glass, and that's just for aesthetic purposes. And then fill up your water. Do the same process that I had before. Make sure that the water is the same temperature as what is going on in this little bowl, and then introduce your fish into it with the water from before. I got some in my eye! So the fish tank is done right now. What remains on your side is making sure that your mess is cleaned up. Make sure that the counter in the bathroom that you use is wiped down with a disinfectant wipe. As for the towel, you can dry off the wet sides of the bowl from where it was wet in the sink, and then put the towel in the dirty laundry in case it had any fishy stuff on it. Hello, sir. Hello. You're gorgeous, sir. Oh, look at you. Being all big and tough. I feel swimmy. Oh, so swimmy. Thanks very much for watching our video.